Hello students. In the chapter Impact of British Rule in India, in the previous part, we had studied the impact of British rule in India on Indian administrative system, various land revenue system, police system, judicial system, military system, and the impact of British rule on English education. This is what we studied in the first part of the lesson. In this part, we are going to study about the constitutional development that took place before independence during the British rule. Children, we know that today we have a constitution for our own country, a constitution of our own. Constitution is nothing but a document. It contains rules, regulations, laws for proper governance of the country. Today, whatever constitution that we have is accepted. It came into effect on 26 January 1950, and the credit of giving us the constitution goes to the chairman of the Indian Constitution Drafting Committee, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So we follow the provisions of the present constitution. Now the question is, was there a constitution before independence? Was there a constitution before independence, that is during British rule? The answer is yes. There was a constitution even before independence, but that was developed by the British. So in this chapter, we are going to read about the development of rules, regulations, laws, acts, and the constitution that developed during the British rule. It all started in 1773, the constitutional development process by the British, and the constitution developed by the British can be read in two phases. In the first place, the constitution development that took place during the rule of East India Company, and we know that the rule of East India Company ended after the first war of Indian independence 1857, and the Indian administration was taken over by the British Queen. So the first phase was the constitutional development that took place in India during the rule of East India Company, and the constitutional development that took place directly under the rule of British government, British Queen. So we read the two phases. Let us see some of the acts, laws that were passed during the British rule. Along with the British administration, problems also grew in India. As the British Empire expanded, they also started facing problems. In order to alleviate the problems, reformation, changes in administration became important, and these reformations needed to address the demands of the Indians. The British attempted to create different rules in the form of law and tried to implement them. These types of laws helped the evolution of constitution in India. We shall study this attempt very briefly, in brief. The laws implemented during the rule of East India Company. The first act passed by the East India Company administration was the Regulating Act 1773. Name the act that was passed by the British in 1773, Regulating Act. When was Regulating Act passed? After the implementation of Diwani rights in 1765, the greedy East India Company officials misused this provision and became rich in a corrupt way. Corruption spiraled out. Edmund Burke, a member of British Parliament, criticized the corruption in the East India Company. He termed the tax payment received by the British government from the East India Company as criminal tax. He was forced to criticize in this manner as the government remained silent to the fact of corruption among the company officials. Many company officials had become super rich, and many in England feared that these people may upset the very political fabric of England. The Regulating Act was implemented in this background in the year 1773. What are the main features of Regulating Act 1773? Before implementation of this act, there were three presidencies or three provinces under the British rule. They are Bengal, Madras and Bombay. All these three were independent administrative units. Under the Regulating Act, Bengal province or Bengal presidency gained control over the other two presidencies. The governor of Bengal became the Governor General of all the three presidencies. I repeat again, before implementation of Regulating Act, there were three provinces or three presidencies under the British rule, namely the Bengal, Madras and Bombay. All the three provinces were independent administrative units. Under Regulating Act, the Bengal presidency gained control over the other two presidencies. There was Governor of Bengal, there was Governor of Madras, there was Governor of Bombay. Now, the Bengal Governor became the Governor General. The Bengal Governor became the Governor General. The other two presidencies, Bombay and Madras, came under the Bengal presidency. That means the Bengal presidency, the Governor General of Bengal gained control over Bombay and Madras presidencies. The Governor General was authorized to direct, exercise control and to supervise over the other two presidencies. The Bombay and Madras presidencies could not declare war on anyone or enter into peace agreements without prior approval of the Governor General of Bengal Presidency. The Board of Directors of the company. So the Bombay and Madras presidencies could not independently declare war on anyone or enter into any kind of peace agreement without the prior approval of the Governor General of Bengal Presidency and the Board of Directors of the company. Only during acute emergencies they were entitled to act independently. So it means the independency of Bombay and Madras presidencies were taken away by this act. According to this act, Supreme Court of Judicature was established in Calcutta. A Supreme Court of Judicature was established in Calcutta. In this central court, one Chief Justice and 3 ordinary judges were there. Like this, as the name of the Regulating Act suggests, the Act was aimed at regulating the company's affairs and its administration in India. Regulate means control. To control the affairs of the East India Company, Regulating Act was passed. This is the Supreme Court of Justice or Supreme Court of Judicature. Here there can be a very important one mark question. Which act established the Supreme Court of Judicature? The Supreme Court of Judicature was established by the Regulating Act of 1773. There was one Chief Justice and two other ordinary judges. The next act is the Pitt India Act 1784. There were many inconsistencies in the Regulating Act of 1773. In order to rectify them, and also to clearly outline the powers of the East India Company and the British government, Pitt's India Act was implemented. The government of England restricted the powers of the East India Company. A new institution called Board of Controllers, consisting of 6 commissioners, was started. The Board of Controllers replaced the Board of Directors. Earlier, there were Board of Directors in the East India Company. It was replaced by the Board of Controllers, consisting of 6 commissioners. This board had the power to direct and control the issues related to land taxes, military, and civil areas. The Board of Control came into existence in the place of Board of Directors. You can have a look at it. Earlier, there were Board of Directors in the East India Company, but it was replaced by the Board of Controllers. The Pitt India Act 1784 declared that the Indians have attained their paramount power in the name of British Empire only, but not on their own, and curtailed the powers or political rights of Indians conclusively. It declared that the areas under the possession of East India Company are the integral part of the British Empire. Hence, the government of England is the ultimate ruler of India. The whole of India is under the ultimate rule of the government in England. Charter Acts. The main aim of Charter Acts was to renew the license of the East India Company. Children, we know that the English East India Company obtained license, obtained permit, obtained charter from Queen Elizabeth I in the year 1600. Now, the main aim of the Charter Acts was to renew the license of the East India Company. The Charter Acts of 1793, 1813, 1833 and 1833 were implemented to achieve this aim. As and when the charters were implemented once in 20 years, the new rules and regulations found fit by the British government was included in these acts. Among these, the Charter Acts of 1813 and Charter Act of 1833 are important. The Charter Act of 1813. This act licensed the East India Company to stay for another 20 years in India. Before the implementation of this act, a demand to allow any interested person to carry out trade in India was there. This act allowed this demand and authorized all interested persons to carry out trade in India. With this act, free trade era started in India. Now, other than the East India Company, all interested persons or interested parties can carry out trade in India. A new era of license and authorization started. The Board of Control was vested with the powers to appoint the Governor General and Commander-in-Chief. The churches were allowed to enter India officially. The Christian missionaries were directed to enrich knowledge of the Indians and also to enhance the moral and spiritual life of Indians. Many Christian missionaries started arriving in India after this act. The expansion of Christianity and English education started taking place. Because of these developments, Charter Act of 1813, a historic act. Charter Act of 1833. This act aimed at improving the situation in India. It also licensed the East India Company to remain in India for another 20 years. The main aspects of this act are: the Governor General of Bengal was named as the Governor General of India. Now, in regulating act, the Governor of Bengal became the Governor General, having control over the two other presidencies, Bombay and Madras. Under this act, the Governor General of Bengal was also named as the Governor General of India. So he became the Governor General of India. The Governor General was vested with powers to direct, control and supervising all trades in India. The central government of Bengal had the final right to decide on issues like peace and diplomatic relations with the princely states of India. The Governor General was mandated to put his differences of opinion with executive committee members in writing whenever he differed with the majority opinion. So whenever the Governor General differs in his opinion in the executive committee, he has to put his differences in writing. The act prohibited any discrimination based on religion, birth and skin color. So there should not be any discrimination taking place based on religion, birth and skin color. The Governor General was mandated to appoint a law professional as member to his executive committee. All British companies were allowed to have trade relationship in India. The Charter Act of 1833 throws more light on the internal situation of India and also the various political developments present in England during 1830s. The British government acts from 1858 to 1947. I told you the constitutional development that took place during the British rule. The first phase was the constitutional development that took place during the rule of East India Company, and now the constitutional development that took place directly under British rule, British government. The Sipa Mutiny or the first war of Indian independence took place due to the maladministration of the East India Company and anti-Indian acts in 1857. As a result, the administration of India was handed over to the British Queen from the East India Company. During this period, India Government Acts 1858, 1861, 1892, 1909, 1919 and 1935 were implemented. Due to various political developments during different periods makes these acts historically very important. After the Sipai Mutiny or the first war of Indian independence 1857. The first act passed by the British government. India came under rule of direct British government, and the Indian Government Act 1858 was introduced. This act needs to be understood in the background of civil and military unrest that took place in 1857. India came under direct rule of British government. The Queen of England, Queen Victoria, announced that all-round development of India would be ensured by the British government on November 1st, 1858. The following are the important features of this act. The license of the East India Company was cancelled and India was brought under the direct administration of the British Queen. The post of Governor General was changed into Viceroy. The post of Governor General was changed into Viceroy. And Lord Canning became the first Viceroy of India. Which act changed the post of Governor General into Viceroy? Government of India Act of 1858. Who was the first Viceroy of India? Lord Canning. Now, under this act, a new post called Secretary of State for India was created in the British government. The Secretary was a part of the British Cabinet and was responsible for the administration of India. A Council of India was created in order to assist the Secretary in the administration, and this council had 15 members. You can see Queen Victoria, who took over the Indian administration from the East India Company, and the first Viceroy of India was Lord Canning. This is an important act, Indian Council Act of 1861. Indian Council Act of 1861 is an important act that came into effect after the 1857 revolt. With this act, Indians were allowed to participate in the process of creating laws. In order to understand the aspirations, needs of Indians, a representation was given to Indians, and this was called the policy of assertion. Here, another important question: what is the policy of assertion? In order to allow Indians also to participate in the process of creating laws and to understand the aspirations of Indians, representation was given to Indians also. That means Indians were made a part of the British administrative process of creating laws. This policy of including Indians in the process of creating laws is known as the policy of assertion. The following are the important aspects, the important features of this act. Indians were nominated to the Council of Viceroy as non-official members. Viceroy was authorized to proclaim ordinances in case of emergency. The Viceroy was authorized to proclaim ordinances in case of emergency. Indian Council Act of 1892. Indian Council Act of 1892 is the continuation of Indian Council Act of 1861. This Act of 1892 further extended the participation of Indians in the legislative bodies. It gave more opportunity to Indians in the legislative bodies. The critical view expressed by the Congress organization towards the British administration led to this expansion of Indian representation in the governance. The following are the important features of the Indian Council Act of 1892. The number of additional members in the regional and central legislative bodies was increased. Here, regional refers to Bombay and Madras, central legislature refers to the government in Bengal. The Legislative Council's authority was increased further by allowing discussion on budget-related issues. Now, the Legislative Council's power and authority was increased and they were now allowed to take part on discussions on budget-related financial matters. They could participate and discuss on financial budget-related issues. Provision was made to question the government on public issues by serving 6 days notice in advance. Now, this Legislative Council also got the power of questioning the government on public matters, on public issues by giving 6 days notice in advance. Minto-Morley Reforms of 1909. This Act is also known as the Indian Council Act 1909. This Act is also called Minto-Morley Reforms Act. Government of this Indian Council Act 1909 is also called Minto-Morley Reforms. Why it was called like that? During the preparation, the formulation and implementation of this Act, Lord Minto was the Viceroy of India and Lord Morley was the Secretary of State for India. So this Act was formulated by the efforts of both Minto and Morley. Therefore, this Act is also called Minto-Morley Reforms. This Act was used to divide and rule India. We know that the British main policy was to divide and rule India. So this Act was used to divide and rule the people of India. The following are the important features or important aspects of this Act. The total number of central legislative members was increased from 60 to 60 from 16. Earlier there were 16 members, central legislative members, and the number was increased from 16 to 60. The number of regional council members was also increased. Let me tell you, the central legislature refers to the government in Bengal. The regional council members refers to the regional council members in Bombay and Madras. Bombay and Madras are regional council and Bengal is the central legislature. Representation of regional council was allowed through elections. Earlier there were nominated members. Now this time elections were allowed to select representatives for the first time. In order to provide separate representation for Muslims, separate electoral college was created. The Hindus will elect Hindu representatives and Muslims will elect Muslim representatives. This is an attempt to divide the people of India into Hindus and Muslims. Lord Minto and Lord Morley. Government of India Act of 1919. Since Indians took active part in the First World War, which was fought from 1914 to 1918, Lord Montague, who was the Secretary of State for India at that time, argued in favor of providing more representations to Indians in the matter of administration. Lord Montague, who was the Secretary of State for India, argued in favor of providing more representations to Indians as far as administration is concerned, because Indians had taken active part in the First World War. He was in favor of allowing people's participation in the formation of government gradually. Lord Chelmsford, who was the Viceroy, then declared various reformative measures to the British Parliament on 28 1917. August 20th, 1917. The Indian Councils Act of 1919 was formulated by accepting this report. The Government of India Act of 1919 is also called as Montague-Chelmsford Act because there was the involvement of Lord Montague, who was the Secretary of State for India at that time, and Lord Chelmsford was the Viceroy of India at that time. Therefore, this act is also called Montague-Chelmsford Reforms. The following are the important features of the Government of India Act of 1919. This act formulated bicameral legislative body. Bicameral, bi means two, cameral means houses. The lower house and the upper house was formed. Diarchy was allowed at regional governments. Diarchy means dual government. An High Commissioner was appointed for India. High Commissioner is a very senior diplomat and he was appointed for India. This act promised to improve local self-government. Local self-government is the government at the lowest level. Provincial budget was separated from central budget. Separate electoral college was extended for Muslims, Sikhs, Anglo-Indians and Europeans. You can see the British divide and rule policy. Earlier they had divided Hindus and Muslims. Now their attempt was to divide the Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Anglo-Indians and Europeans. Government of India Act of 1935. This act acted as the base for the formation of Indian Constitution. When we observe the present day Indian Constitution, we can notice that many important aspects, many important features have been taken from the earlier acts passed during the British rule. So this act acted as the base for the formation of the Indian Constitution. The report submitted in 1928 under the leadership of Motilal Nehru was very instrumental in the formation of this act. Most of the provisions in the Indian Constitution are based on this act. This act allowed the formation of fully responsible government by Indians. This act was applicable both to the Indian principalities and also to the British India regions. The following are the important aspects, the important provisions of this act. A federal system of Indian principalities, British governed regions and Dominion states was formed. Even today, we have the federal system. That is, there is one central government in the center and the provincial or state governments in all states. This is called the federal system. A government at the center and a number of state or provincial governments below that. Reserve Bank of India was established. Today we have a Reserve Bank of India, which we have studied in business studies, Bankers Bank, mother of banks. Which act established the Reserve Bank of India? The Government of India Act of 1935. Diarchy. Diarchy means dual government was established at the center, and diarchy was cancelled at the regional level and autonomy, independence was granted to the regional governments. A federal court was established. Regulating Act established a Supreme Court of Judicature, and Government of India Act of 1935 established a federal court, a lower court was established. One should understand the various political developments that resulted in the formation of various acts that aided the formation of Indian Constitution. Though these acts serve the purpose of British interest, they also include the aspirations of Indians for self-government or self-governance. These acts should be understood as the result of struggle led by many Indians for self-rule. So, that is the end of this chapter, and let us see what is the assignment for today. The reason to create separate electorate college in 1909 was to: which act established the Supreme Court of Judicature at Calcutta? Who became the first Viceroy of India? What is meant by policy of assertion? Which act established the Reserve Bank of India? Children, learn and practice these questions, and that is all for today. Till we meet in the next class, take care, have a good day. Thank you very much.